Right, okay.
Right, we're rolling. Okay, so group one, what do you reckon?
Okay, well, what we're going to do now is just talk through each of the groups we've seen so far this morning while it's fresh in our minds, and just give some feedback to you on what we liked about your presentations, which have all been pretty good so far.
Yeah, generally we're pretty impressed, I think, with the standard to date. Do you want me to kick off?
All right, do you want to kick off with
right,
one?
Group one, H&M. I thought that was pretty good, really. I thought you captured the issue of the brand well and the consistency, and I was really thought it good that you picked up the issue of diversity or lack of it in the models. I mean, you know, you were focusing on ethnicity, but as an elderly, overweight gentleman, I relate to that very much. I think you're bang on the money there. I think you could have been a little bit more specific about how well it had worked for them, but generally it was a good effort, I thought.
Okay, additional comments that I noted at the time. Obviously you used Prezi well, and lots of interesting images and diagrams you pulled together there. Your timing and structure was good. You introduced the company well, so we knew where you were coming from and why you'd chosen it. So, you know, structurally and organisationally it was a good presentation. You covered the key trends that we asked you to cover, and yeah, we thought it was a very good start.
Yeah, good. Group two, I thought you did a really good job with Tesco. I really loved the way that you used the data to basically establish that they were sort of well ahead of the curve on compared to their competitors in the use of social media. I thought that was great. And I also thought that your use of the Real Food campaign as a way of showing how Tesco's had integrated a whole load of different things, particularly you know, sort of recipes, ingredients, the ability to sort of buy the whole lot in one drop, and tying it into the coming up to Christmas really illustrated it very well. So I thought it was an excellent presentation, so well done, guys.
Yeah, agreed. We particularly liked the way you showed the competitive position, and also looked at Tesco's perspective, why they were doing social media. So they seemed to have a plan as opposed to it just being a bandwagon approach, and you were quite specific about that. Some good diagrams showing how the channels link together. You specifically linked back to issues we covered in the module, which we asked you to do, which was good. So clearly you've got some relevant information there. Like the way you considered both the limitations of what they've done and also made suggestions for how that could be improved. You asked questions of the audience, which was good. And again, structurally, the presentation was well presented and well put together, with clear slides, and the timing was good. So yeah, we were very impressed with this one.
Okay. Yeah. Right, group three, this is the Starbucks one. I thought again this was a really good effort. I like the way you sort of talked about embedding sort of the mobile aspects of marketing into the overall scheme of the use of social media, and I also liked, gosh, I can't read my writing here.
I can't help you there.
No, I'll come back to that in a minute. I think one thing that I did think was, I'm not sure that you'd really got into the Starbucks is a working environment for sort of people who are on the move. I didn't ask the question about that, but I think actually Starbucks are more rather than creating a loyal following, they've used social media to support it, because it is a haven for people who are actually sort of tend to be having a high degree of facility in using sort of mobile tools and techniques. In many ways, it's a coffee house, so it's an experience as much as a product. I mean, I know they tend to sort of move their marketing much towards, you know, the bits and pieces that you can get to it. But I mean, I think, as you know, when I've used Starbucks, it's because it's a sort of convenient place to meet people or to do work quietly between meetings, and therefore I think you know, Starbucks maybe should have made more of you know, sort of, instead of downloading Lady Gaga tracks, downloading things that are relevant to people who are sort of working on the move. And also they're missing, you know, they should really be going very heavily with Foursquare. But I mean, I think you did pick up quite a lot of this stuff, and I thought your presentation was great, and I enjoyed it, and so well done.
Okay, just a few quick points from me. You link back specifically to issues that both Alan and I discussed in the lectures, which was nice to see. I also liked the way you made connections between using social media and profitability of business, which is a tricky thing to address but needs addressing. You provided supporting evidence which was well referenced. Again, that was good. Like the use of video. Presentation was well structured, Prezi, clear and useful diagrams, good timing, good response to questions at the end. So yeah, we were very impressed overall.
And I finally established that the thing that I couldn't read earlier was augmented reality. I mean, sometimes even I can't read my own writing, so we'll move on. Well done anyway, we'll move on swiftly. Do you want to lead off on group 4?
Okay, so group 4, here we're looking at H&M again. Yeah, so this was a very different style of presentation. I like the way you started off by asking the audience a question, and then you repeated this in the second part, trying to bring in the audience, which was good, and is sometimes quite difficult to do. The slides were clear, you explained the structure and where you were going with it, and you drew upon some supporting evidence, although some of it I did pick up that one of the things you drew upon was a very old reference to website design, and I think the world has kind of moved on a bit since then. So if you're going to draw upon supporting evidence, make sure it's, you know, recent, up-to-date stuff. And overall, I think it got, I think the second half was more detailed and addressed the issues more specifically than the first half. So it was a bit of a presentation of two halves, but there were some very good points there, and yeah, we quite like this one, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Alan?
I think actually, go back to the presentation, I think you had a very analytical first part and a sort of more right-brained second part. And I think that's good, because one of the things that makes marketing interesting as a discipline is that you have to balance creativity with the analytic skills, and I thought that your presentation actually sort of demonstrated that. I think you were very strong on the consistency of the brand here, and I think you reviewed the sort of the way the social, the dressing room worked extremely well. I think you basically pulled out the point that the web is actually the hub of all of their marketing, and all of the sort of social media is designed to sort of drag people back to the site. And I think you did quite well with talking about picking up the events tab and the use of events, and also the fact that people could basically custom create a product and then share it. We've kind of, you don't see sort of customized products so much in consumer marketing. You know, the prime example of that is the way that sort of Dell sell computers, but it's interesting to see that kind of methodology starting to come into a consumer environment. So yeah, good effort, well done guys.
Okay, moving on to group 5, this was the Freaka example. Yeah, we found this to be a very different presentation, a very different type of company, which was good to see someone trying something different and unusual. And you probably made it a little bit harder for yourselves in a sense, because it was difficult to talk about the set criteria in quite the same specific way. But you brought lots of other interesting aspects in to this example, which was very very good to see. I liked the way you used video you integrated the video very well to explain the concept behind the product, because it is something that possibly a lot of people wouldn't have heard of before. So I think that was a good thing to do. And the Prezi again, some useful diagrams and illustrations to support your talk. You were good on the response to questions, and your timing was fine. So yeah, well done for trying something different.
Yeah, it's nice to see somebody actually doing an analysis on a smaller company. I was particularly interested in the way that you talked about the crowdsourcing, because of the crowdfunding, because that's, I think, is going to become sort of increasingly important for people trying to break the mold, particularly in the sort of current economic climate. Again, I like the way that you sort of pulled out that they're sort of integrating online and offline by using events and sort of linking to the shops, and I think you basically made that point quite well. So yeah, no, I think that was a good presentation. Well done, thank you.
Right, and finally for now then, the Nike presentation, Group 6. Loved the way you started this off with the little role play and shouting, which really demonstrated some energy and got everybody interested. That was brilliant. And so very much like your approach to the presentation, like your use of video, more than one video actually, which helped to illustrate the points you were making. You provided some useful background information about market trends and use of social media, which provided the context for your analysis, which was good. Covered the 3 main categories that we asked you to address, and some very interesting examples of innovative marketing that you highlighted from what the company are up to. The running routes I thought was a nice touch, and yeah, overall a very good effort. Well done.
Yeah, I think you picked out some interesting things. I mean, as I say, I love the dramatisation of the way the presentation worked. I do think the sort of video at the end was actually sort of a touch long really, but actually it was okay within the context of what you were doing, because it demonstrated very clearly the principle of engagement. I mean, people talk about engagement a lot, and basically most of what they come up with is fairly mundane, but this was actually really quite a good example of how Nike managed to sort of engage people with what is basically a fairly boring activity, running. I quite liked the idea that you pulled out also of the creation of how they were starting to create their own discount vouchers on the fly. I thought that was a very creative use of social media, and I think you did well to pick that up and present it. So yeah, good presentation, enjoyed it. And the only reason I didn't give any questions at the end was because I was too exhausted after watching the video.
Okay, so that's just a brief run through of the first 6 presentations that we've seen this morning. We'll do another of these a bit later on, but now it's time to go back for part 2.
Okay, see you back at the ranch.